Hello everyone, I'm here today to do a review of the first two books in the Kingkiller Chronicle series by Patrick Rothfuss, which consists of The Name of the Wind as well as The Wise Man's Fear. I like to call this series my favorite fantasy series because this is really good, and that's the reason why I want to do this review, in order to spread the love and maybe inspire you to pick it up as well. I do admit that I don't read a lot of fantasy, so I don't have a lot to compare it to, but in comparison to what I've read so far, this is magic. This is absolutely amazing storytelling. If you're a little bit like me, you may feel the same way about it, and you may want to pick it up because it appeals to a lot of people, I think, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now. I do realize that this is only the first two books in the series. There will be one more book or several more books. I admit I haven't checked that out yet because I kind of forgot about it. I've been meaning to, but I've been too lazy to do that. But maybe you can tell me if there is going to be one more book or several more books. The Kingkiller Chronicle series deals with Croth, who is a middle-aged man living and working in a tavern in this fantasy world. We meet him in this tavern and he is surrounded by some people who come and visit, who work for him. But Croth is not an ordinary man. There is a reason why the series is called the Kingkiller Chronicle series, because he has been through quite some amazing things in his life, and it's exactly his story that he's telling us through these books. Basically, he meets a writer who would like to write down his story, and that's exactly what this is all about. Each book is told in the span of one day, but it covers a long stretch of Croth's life. I find that quite amusing because, as you probably noticed, these books are humongous. They are about 1,000 pages long, but they are told in one day. I admit that when I read them, I tried to figure out how Patrick Rothfuss was able to tell so much in such a short amount of time. It was quite puzzling to me, but having read them, I see how he did it, and he did it brilliantly. And I'm also sure that a lot of you out there are thinking about exactly that, the size of these books. They are about 900 to 1,000 pages long each, and it scares you. It scared me. I read the first book and then it took me 2 years to pick up the second book. Not because I didn't love the first book, but because I was scared. The size intimidated me, and I knew that it was going to take me several days and maybe weeks to finish the second book. And I didn't know if I wanted to pick it up and just start reading and then not be able to read other books. But eventually I did. I was amazed at how I remembered everything perfectly, even though it's been 2 years since I read the first book. And I think that tells something about Patrick Rothfuss as a writer. He's able to write 2 books where he picks up things beautifully, or he just explains things so vividly in the first book that they are stuck in your mind. I love that because that's important when you write several books in the series. For those of you who are not that much into fantasy like me, I will have to say that the thing I love about this series is the fact that it's told like a coming-of-age story. We follow Croth from he is a very small child, and then we follow him as he grows up and becomes this independent man. This is then mixed with some fantasy elements, obviously, but I loved it because it worked so well. I especially love the parts where we get to encounter the biggest library in the world. So if you are still a little bit hesitant as to whether you should read this big series or not, then do know that this one contains the biggest library in the world, and who wouldn't want to read about that? This series has got a quite elaborate world building. It has got some amazing characters, and the settings are impeccable. And that's what I love about this series. It is perfect from A to Z, even though we haven't read the last part of the series yet. But so far, I haven't been able to find any weak points in this series. Yes, the books are huge, but I didn't feel like it could have ended earlier. I actually remember wanting to read more and more while reading the books. Even though I did have quite a lot of pages to get through, I wanted more, and that very seldom happens when I read fantasy. Normally we do get quite huge books in fantasy genre, but in this case I just didn't care. I wanted more. I think I'm going to leave it at that, because you have to experience this world for yourself. Obviously, I gave both books 5 stars, and I can't wait to read the third, maybe the last book in the series. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or any things you would like to discuss. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.